When it comes to big albums with big artists, music producers are consistently the last to get paid. Jason Berger, an entertainment lawyer, estimates that 9 out of 10 producers have not been paid by the time the music they produced comes out on a major label. I checked his Instagram. It looks like he has done work as a lawyer with Benny X, with Lil Uzi, with Friday, with a bunch of big names in the music business. So those are his words, not mine. And he made that statement in regard to the 10 producers claiming to have still not been paid for their contributions to the last 2 Kanye West albums. And now there's some new crazy shit going down with a Roc Nation songwriter who is suing Travis Scott and a number of other entities because she's claiming that one of her songs was stolen from Kanye's studio by Travis Scott and then turned into a hit song. The crazy thing is I have a story about a song actually getting stolen from a studio and then used by a big name rapper who, it was Jim Jones. It was a crazy story. I'll talk about it someday, maybe. But for now, let's discuss what's actually going on here. You can watch the full episode where we talk about Spotify's new deal with UMG and why we don't like it in the link below in the description. Thank you. The only new information I found about the producers that are demanding money as they haven't been paid for their beats and production input contributions for the last 2 Vultures album is that there are 10 total. And there are some pretty high-powered attorneys weighing in on that particular topic. There are no updates internally with 2 Lost, I doubt, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Dame
doesn't get the access to the Kanye panic room. So
that's not my job. Like this year, normally I'm, super proactive. I'm trying to, see what's going on and how I can connect and support other people. And I still do that to a certain extent. But this year, my focus is, hey, I'm doing what I'm getting paid to do. I
love that, Dave.
That's outside of the realm of my responsibility.
I wouldn't get involved in this.
If I start asking too many questions, it might put something on my plate that I don't want on my plate. So, I don't care about it personally. So, and it's not my job. So I don't, put that over there.
So then the other thing, and we've covered this too, was the Donna Summer lawsuit. And that actually was resolved, but that was resolved, I think, last year. In the case of the Donna Summer lawsuit, it was a sample clearance lawsuit. The state wouldn't clear the sample for Kanye because they didn't like his recent statements about a particular religion/ethnic group. But Kanye just replayed the sample and moved forward with it, which he got sued for, obviously. And so when they sued, his song, Good Don't Die, was taken out of distribution. So to me, that's a serious consequence. And what all of these situations have in common is that he's alerted and his team is alerted to the legal ramifications of him continuing with a copyright infringement action. And he continues to move forward anyway, which to me is weird because Kanye is now allegedly a billionaire again, and he has the resources to hire people to handle all of these things and completely avoid the consequence of more lawsuits, spending more money, wasting more time. And I think the worst thing, because it's so public and it's an affront to his art, is when songs get taken down because of these disputes. So I think why move forward? But then I look at the music business as a whole, and that's just kind of how the music industry moves. They don't have permission for something. They say, fuck it, we'll ask for forgiveness, not permission, and move forward. It's like, well, you didn't ask for permission and you were explicitly told that you didn't have permission. So are there consequences? Of course there are consequences. Even for someone like Kanye, he can still get a song taken down. Now, granted, that's at the hands of Donna Summer's estate. So it kind of takes one giant to bring down another giant. And in the case of these 10 producers who haven't been paid on the last Vultures album, they've been keeping their mouths shut, or I'm living under a rock, because normally I know names of people who are involved in these kinds of things. And sometimes people will even reach out and say, hey, can we come on the podcast and talk about it? I have no idea who those 10 producers are, and the articles don't name them. But recently there's I don't know if this is I think this is an even crazier story. Yeah, this is an even crazier story than even 10 producers not getting paid. And Kanye is connected to it, but he's not directly named at this point. Might be in the future. He's not directly named in the lawsuit right now. But this is, Aaron, you told us about this. Travis Scott sees a future. And and some other companies are being sued by Rock Nation artist Victory Boyd and her publishing company Songs of Glory. And this is another copyright infringement case, not as straightforward as producers not getting paid for songs or sample clearance, but she's alleging that her song, Like the Way It Sounds, was used without permission, was reinterpreted, replayed, etc., for Telekinesis, which is, I guess, a Travis Scott song featuring SZA and Future. And it's a hit song. It's already platinum as a single. And it was off the #1 album, Utopia, obviously. This is from musicbusinessworldwide.com. In the complaint, Boyd claims that she wrote the lyrics, then completed and published the demo entitled Like the Way It Sounds in November 2019, and then shared a recording of the song with Kanye West via a voice note. According to, what a crazy life to have where you're just sending voice notes to Kanye. According to the lawsuit, upon information and belief, Kanye West planned to release the song entitled Future Bounce, renaming it twice as Future Sounds and then Ultrasounds. All versions of these renamed songs were alleged to be based on Boyd's work. But then in 2021, when Kanye West released his album Donda, he did not release any one of these different versions of the song using Boyd's original work, which I guess Boyd has formally registered for a copyright, and they referenced the number there. What happened next was that Kanye West is purported to have played the song for Travis Scott. Boyd claims that she left her song Like the Way It Sounds in a studio in Wyoming, which Scott subsequently gained access to and began creating the infringing work off the original work. So that, I think, to me, that's the crazy part. Going into the studio, hearing the song, and then kind of recreating it and entirely neglecting to address that part, which has happened to me. I've had people steal songs out of a studio. Famous rappers, I might tell this story. A famous rapper stole my demo out of a studio and gave it to another rapper, sold it to him, unbeknownst to me, sold him the beat, the feature, and the hook. And then I got that record placed like a year later, and it was a problem. And I got screwed over. I should tell that story because that's wild. So this is why it's crazy to me for a number of reasons. And then it goes farther because it seems like Victory Boyd is pretty religious. Am I right? Because she's frustrated by the content of the song. It's not in line with her morals, which I want to put a pin in.
Yeah, I think how she released all of this is super smart, is really in depth. Her legal team they've filed the lawsuit, everything's going down, and then she turned it into content. Unlike how when we covered that artist, I don't know if we should bring him up, but he's a producer that I really like who is trying to sue Doja Cat for stealing his song, and he was turning it all into content and didn't even have lawyers or any type of proceedings. So Victory Boyd is a very well-known songwriter in the songwriter world, but she's also a super well-known Christian singer. In the gospel world, she kind of does like a mix of CCM and gospel, but she's very different. Even her getting signed to Rock Nation was a whole thing because she was like, I'm not changing my sound. I'm saying Jesus in my music. And for those who know about the Christian industry, a lot of times, even if you're a Christian artist, they like you to make more positive music, not specifically religious music. And so she was like, take me or leave me. And they're like, cool, we'll take whatever you want. So she's making like worship music and coming out on Rock Nation. But when Kanye reached out to her, especially back when I think she's been writing with him since like 2017, 2018, it was when he was doing like started on the Jesus is King stuff. And so she wrote on that. She wrote on, I think, both Dondas. And then after, basically she says she'd written like 30, 40, 50 reference tracks. Like he was flying her out to Wyoming, whatever, for these big writing camps, or he would just bring her out and be like, hey, you have this studio. And then he wasn't taking anything and she was getting frustrated. And she was like, I realized I'm not writing for Kanye West. I'm writing for my maker, my creator. So I'm just going to do this in devotion to him. If he takes anything, cool. But if not, this is like worship. This is a form of my spiritual practice. So I respect that because it's like, I think that if we're always doing something for somebody else, it leads to emptiness regardless, because you're never going to be satisfied in the way that you're doing it. So apparently Kanye and Travis had a collective folder that they were working off of, which doesn't surprise me because they're common collaborators. And I know a lot of artists, especially bigger artists, they just have, I mean, I have a ton of artists who have tracks. I'm on a shared folder with them right now and I get updates regularly, even if I don't still work with them. So that's a very common practice for people. So that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, apparently Travis Scott started working on that. She made it in, I think, 2019. He started working on it in 21 or 22, I think. And then it came out in 23, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that I feel like is the smoking gun, because everything could be speculative. But he did a luxury, was it Chanel or whatever? I don't know. It was a luxury perfume commercial that he.
No, it was a watch commercial.
Oh, watch company. Yeah, it was a
AP.
luxury watch company. That's AP. They did a sync and the commercial featured him, Travis Scott, in it, but also the song. They had it heavily edited. Obviously, that song doesn't work for a commercial like that. And they sent her paperwork to sign off on the sync because you have to on the publishing, I think on the publishing side, not on the master side. And she was like, no, like this song is, you know what I'm saying? So they said no, the commercial still came out. The song was already out. So there's all these different things. It's like, I think that there could have been, I mean, if you listen to the song, you can tell it's like she has the video of her recording it and then you can hear it side by side. The content she released is so in depth and so intentional. And it's very interesting. She's truly a storyteller. And I really like how she mapped it out because she's not even trying to slander them. She's just like, this is not what I wanted this to be. But with AP asking for the song, then asking her to sign off the song, she doesn't sign off and then it all coming out. I'm like, there's no way they're going to win this in court. Do you know what I'm saying? There's just no way they're going to win because I feel like everything lines up against them. She has all the evidence of when she recorded it. And then in the comments, Big Sean was like, I was on this song too, and I just gave up on it. And so then people were like, wait, what? So, I mean, that happens often. I know where people abandon lawsuits where that's happened to me where it's like, certain things are happening. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth the frustration. But I think because of how massive this song is, how personal it was to her and what her intent was behind it, she was like, as a Christian person, the integrity of my song and the value of what I'm bringing to this table is completely misconstrued. And I do know a lot of other Christian songwriters. Like I know one of Summer Walker's top songwriters, Taylor Hill. He writes for her. He writes for Coiler, right? But he has a boundary. He's like, hey, the songs that I write on, there's a certain limit. Like I don't want you talking about X, Y, and Z. Like if you decide that you don't want my track, cool. But like to the point that I'm in high enough demand that you want me, I get to set the standard on the type of tracks that I want. I know like TM88 is like that with his production. I've seen him pull songs down because he's like, I don't like how they rapped on it, or I don't like the mix on this, and I don't like the way he does stuff. But certain people have standards and they're like, I want it to flow this way, and this is the way that I choose to make music. And if this is a boundary I have and it limits my money, then so be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting boundary because granted, she didn't really specify what part of the song she had a problem with. You know, there's a lot of sex and drug talk. Kanye writes a lot of degenerate lyrics, so you kind of figure it doesn't.
She's only on Jesus is King and the Dondas, though.
I understand, but we saw what Kanye West did to a Nina Simone sample, right? So all I'm saying is, if I'm looking at that, nothing's sacred. That's all I'm saying. So that's the part that I was putting the pin in because I'm like, I'm sorry, Victory, but what did you think was going to happen when you start just giving him? The crazy thing is, you know, Kanye's fandom is thorough. So they have all of these. So there's a Kanye fan wiki, and they show all these unreleased songs that Victory is credited on. And one of them is called Future Bounce. As she says, you know, she said it was called Future Bounce and Future Sounds, and it's featuring Travis Scott. So there's this trail, right? It clearly connects Travis Scott to her demo. So I think that's good for her lawsuit. But in addition, her reference was called Like the Way It Sounds. And that lyric is exactly what they use in telekinesis. It literally says, do you like the way it sounds? You know the future of the bounce. So that ties it to 2 iterations of that song, which is a hell of a paper trail. Also, according to this article, it looks as though Travis Scott's people attempted to credit her and give her 8% writing contribution. Okay, so this song's already platinum. This is why I don't understand why people do this, because they do it with beats all the time. They'll drop a track with the beat. So it's weird. And then on top of that, with this track, it's platinum already. It's a hit. It's generated $1 million already, at least. And you've publicized those numbers. The streaming numbers are clearly visible, at least on certain platforms, and then you can audit other platforms for that as you're trying to build your case. Why would you offer, okay, we'll give you 8% of the writer's share after the fact? So you're getting 4% writer's share, 4% publisher split after the fact that we've made all this money.